In today's video, I'm going to show you how I made twin canopy beds. The bed frame, the canopy top, the mattress, the bed covers, pillows, and pillowcases using found materials I had at home. Well, it's time to make furniture to fill the dollhouse. So I kind of made a little plan for each room. We'll have two twin beds in here, a dresser in the middle with a wall mirror, and a desk and chair over here for the girls' bedroom. For the master bedroom, a full-size bed with a lamp stand on each side, and a dresser with a mirror. And over there in this very small corner, I thought I would add a table with a pitcher and bowl set as sort of a sink, because this house doesn't have a bathroom. They have to use an outhouse. It's an old-fashioned house. The kitchen, I'm actually going to use this container right here for the kitchen sink. That's why that's sitting here. And the kitchen sink will be below the window. So I'll have a cabinet here, and this portion of it will have upper cabinets, the refrigerator in the corner, and we'll have another cabinet over here with a countertop, cabinet below, and upper cabinets up there. And I had to plan it this way because it's a very small kitchen, and I wanted the refrigerator over there. I was thinking of an L-shaped counter, but it just didn't work. I felt like because of the placement of the window and the space on either side, the refrigerator is best over there. So we split the cabinets like this, so it's sort of a galley kitchen. And at first I had the table, a dining room table, and it's very small, but it was very crowded. Very crowded in this space. The chair would be in the way of the sink. So I said, no, let's just move the table over here. They could have like a small dining area right here, and it won't take away from the living room area. In the living room, we can have a sofa, two end tables with lamps, a chair, and that's an iPhone box. I thought about turning that into a bookshelf and filling it with books. Maybe put a picture on the wall. But this living room will not have a TV because this family doesn't watch TV because they know that there's usually nothing good on TV anyways. And then that would give some extra space in the kitchen, so I could add a hutch so that there's more storage space for the dishes and things in the kitchen, and probably put a wastebasket here and a mop and broom standing there so that they can clean their house. So I think that's going to work. This is my plan. I started with 1/4 inch thick foam core because I have lots of scraps of it. I don't know if this is cheating, but I use what works. I want a good structure that children can play with, not something that's going to fall apart very easily. I hot glue the pieces together that I've cut. I'm using wooden dowels for the bedposts. I cut them the length I desired, and using a pencil sharpener gave the tops a point. I marked a 1/2 inch from the bottom. This is how high I want the bottom of the bed to rise above the floor. I hot glued the posts in the gaps on the corner. I use the grid line on the craft mat to check that my posts are straight. I had some plain white contact paper, so I cut 1 inch wide strip which I applied on each side of the bed, wrapping it from the top to the side, giving it a cleaner and neater edge. I discovered, sort of by accident, that the jumbo craft sticks were the perfect width for the sides of my bed. I cut off the rounded edge and cut them the length that I needed. I tapered the two ends so that they are thinner where they will rest on the posts, which are rounded. With the remaining pieces that I cut off, I fashioned a headboard and a footboard, making the headboard taller and the footboard shorter. To complete the bed frame, I used coffee stirrers to make a trim around the bed frame, including the bedpost. They have to be cut at a 45-degree angle where they meet. Now you might notice there's a little gap in the corner there. We'll deal with that later. I hold them with masking tape while the glue dries. Building the canopy top. I thought about cutting the jumbo craft sticks for this, but worried that they might just split and break on me. So instead I opted to use mat board, since I have lots of scraps of that too. I cut 4 pieces for each bed because I glue 2 together for double thickness and strength. To join the 2 sides, I used bamboo skewers from my kitchen. I cut them 3 inches in length and then sanded off their edges, rounding the tips a bit. Sometimes bamboo can be a little bit splintery, so you have to be careful of that. I used the grid of the craft mat board to evenly space out my rungs so that I know where to mark the placement of the holes. I put a dot in the center of the mat board where I want the holes. Then I used my hand drill to drill the holes for the rungs to go into. On the first bed, I drilled all the way through. On the second bed, I decided that it was not necessary to go all the way through. The rungs were glued in place with tacky glue. Now, to fill the gap made by the frame around the post. I filled them with wood putty and I let it dry before painting the bed frames. I've decided to begin in the girls' bedroom. So I've gotten a start on the first bunk bed. I need to make the canopy covering for the top, and I need to make the canopy top for this bed. I also need to paint them. I think they should be a white color, since the colors of the wallpaper in this room are so bold that I feel like I need to make the furniture white, and I need to make matching bed covers, and I need to make pillows and mattresses for the beds. I'm seeing the room set up like this. I don't think there's going to be room for a desk, so we're not going to make that desk. I think they need the space to walk around because that kind of takes up so much space. But I will make a dresser to go between the beds, and they will have a mirror on the wall. As far as playroom, I'm going to make the attic be the playroom. Right now it's storage for all the fabrics that I'll be using for this project. The bed positioned from the wall so they can walk around that side, but it could be pushed that way. And you know, I thought about they could rearrange it like this, and then maybe the dresser could be over here. That would give them a little bit more floor space, but I can leave it up to them. They can arrange. So I'm only going to do 3 pieces of furniture for this room, and this dresser will have a mirror, whether it be on the dresser itself or on the wall. I haven't decided quite yet, but I will make a dresser to match these beds, and that will complete that room. I didn't realize these mat boards were green, but that's okay because I'm going to be gluing it together like this. Sewing the bed covers. With right sides together, I sew around all the sides, leaving a small gap on one side so I can turn it. Clip the corners to reduce, extra bulk. I do not use any batting or filler in the quilt, just 2 layers of fabric, because I didn't want it to be too thick, because then it wouldn't lay right on a 1/12 scale. Press it flat because that always makes everything look better. Then top stitch all the way around the quilt, closing the gap. And I stitch as close as I can to the edge. I then sort of quilted the bed cover by forming small squares. For design, I folded down the top of the quilt and sewed it down, then added a ribbon trim that seemed like a good decorative element. I am a seamstress, so I have lots of ribbons and trims and lace on hand at all times, and I also have people who donate such things to me. So that's nice. I added the smallest lace trim that I could find from my stash. Now it's time to glue the canopy top onto the bedposts. After applying glue where it should join, I used clamps to hold everything in place, then I went to bed. Next morning, while having my morning tea, I began gluing the eyelet fabric on the top. I did stitch an edging around the edge of the fabric just to kind of give it an edge that wouldn't unravel. I had cut out the corners because I want the post to stick up outside of the fabric. I let that dry before going to the next step. I glued a trim that I felt went nicely with the eyelet fabric. It's slightly ruffled, which works well for this application. Since I'm using tacky glue, I needed to let that dry before adding the ribbon trim. I had thought to use the same heart ribbon, but decided it would be too thick, too wide, and not easy to work with since I have a curved top. So I used this glittery pink ribbon that is very thin. It was a little bit challenging, but I made it work. I'm going to give you the sizes of the pillow dimensions, but yours might have to be different. I did make these beds slightly shorter because they're for children, so it might not necessarily be the standard 1/12 size, but it's fairly close. Okay, for the pillow, I started with a 2" by 4 3/4 inch to make the pillow. For the pillowcase, I cut a piece of 2 1/2 by 6 1/2, and this is what I did on the right side. I folded this over, and then I sewed this on both ends first before folding it in half like this. So it's like this, only that's a raw edge, because I wanted this to fit in there nicely, and that's such a small space to sew. So you have to, if you're going to put any kind of a trim, you have to put the trim on first. So I have the trim on the right side of the fabric. It's attached with 2 seams, both sides of the ribbon. Now I put it right side together, and I sew a seam here and here before turning it. That's for the pillowcase, like what I've done here. And then when you can see a seam and a seam, then I trim the corners slightly, not too close, but this just reduces some of the bulk on the corners before turning it inside out. Okay, for the throw pillow, I cut a piece 4 1/4 by 2 inch, and it's going to be folded in half. I like to put the 2 ends over like this, and then we sew a seam here and sew a seam here, and then you turn it right side out, just like I have done with this. For the throw pillow, I folded over an edge. That just makes it a little bit easier. And actually, it would be a good idea to trim off some of this excess bulk. Might even just take off a little bit right there, just to have less bulk at that corner. And just a little bit, even though this corner is probably not too bad. But there's like 4 layers of fabric there. That's why I want to trim. So this is ready to turn. This one is sewn. It is ready to turn inside out. And it's helpful to use a stick. I'm using a bamboo stick, the flat end, to push out the corners. I do back stitch on each end. Sometimes if you don't, you might push the corner completely out. Don't use the pointed end, use the blunt end. Okay, so that's our pillow. And now we just need to stuff it and then do our blind stitching to seal it up. Let me show you how to do the blind stitch of the invisible stitch, or the invisible stitch as some people call it. With a knot at the end, I slip my first stitch through the loop before the knot to get started. We're sewing 2 sides together. I make a tiny stitch on one side, then cross over and make a stitch on the other side. The crossing stitch is a straight stitch directly from one side to the other. Where the needle comes out on one side, it goes in on the other side. And you just keep repeating from one side to the other. When the thread is pulled tightly, you won't even see the joining stitch. That's why it's called the invisible stitch, or the blind stitch. Here's that same stitch. Maybe you can see it better with the contrasting white thread on the pink fabric. Top stitch, straight across, then bottom stitch. Repeat all the way across. I'm using a piece of foam core. It's a 1/4 inch thick, and this is going to be the mattress. And to give it a little bit of cushion, I'm using this type of foam that's packaging wrap. It came from some mailing, and I'm just going to glue 2 layers of this on here, and that's going to be our mattress, and then I will cover it with white fabric to give it a sheet. And just as simple as that. Nothing fancy, just a plain mattress. Using tacky glue. I didn't want to make the mattress too thick for this project. Just want a very thin layer of glue. And I will do that for both. Of course, I made sure that it's going to fit in here. I have it a little bit narrower than the space and a little bit shorter so that it will easily fit inside. Okay, so this is my cushion side. So I'm going to put it down face down. I'm not going to put any glue on this side of it because I want to keep that part soft. And I will be folding this over. I have at least 1 inch all the way around, bigger than my mattress. So I have it, but I'm going to deal with the corners first, and just going to take off a little bit off the corner. I want to put a little glue between here so I can bring this down to the edge, kind of flatten this out. So it kind of looks like this in the back. It looks like this on the sides. And it's just a simple, smooth top, but we have a fitted sheet that's permanent. I'm going to just give that a few moments to dry, and then I'm going to glue it in there so it'll be permanent. One more touch. I cut a flower from the lace trim that I used on the curtain for this room. This will help pull the room together. I used Fabric Fix to glue the flower applique onto the accent pillow. Now we are ready to dress the bed. Time to place them in their room. When I was a young girl, I remember my cousin getting a canopy bed, and I was so jealous. I never had anything like that. It seemed so special, like a princess bed. So I decided this house will have a pretty canopy bed fit for princess. The girls will love their pretty canopy beds. Twin beds for two special girls because they are loved. I hope you will join me as I continue to make furnishings from my cardboard house. I have created a new playlist for all my dollhouse creations. So this room is just about complete. I do need to make a dresser right here with a mirror, and then the room will be finished. So I think that's probably what my next project will be, so that I can have at least one room complete in this dollhouse. Thanks for watching.